How much would it cost to build a trading app like this? Several $1,000s at least, but I built it without writing a single line of code myself or hiring a developer. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll show you exactly how I did it using Claude AI, ChatGPT and DeepSeek to automate the whole process. Stay tuned until the end of the video and I will give you one of the trading bots I generated with this method for free. This started 5 months ago when I uploaded some files from Express Generator into Claude AI and asked it to analyze the code. And now I have a full-blown trading app that generates strategies 24/7 for me. Let's dive in and I'll show you how exactly I built it. So 5 months ago, I wanted to understand how Express Generator works so I can use it more in my trading workflow. So I went to Claude AI and uploaded some files from the Express Generator. Actually, what I uploaded the fetch JavaScript, which downloads the historical data, the fetch settings, which is the configuration about downloading the historical data, the gen, which generates the strategies, and the gen settings, which is responsible for the different customizations. If you're not familiar what's Express Generator and how it works, check out the link below in the description to my previous video where I explained the whole concept. So I uploaded some files from Express Generator and asked Claude AI to help me understand the settings and how I can use them to create a trading strategy. So Claude gave me quite a detailed explanation about Express Generator, how it works, some sample code, the different settings, and also some example strategy configuration, as you can see here. When I saw how detailed and good is the response, I thought that it would be good to ask the AI how I can generate strategies for multiple symbols and time frames at the same time. At that moment, Claude AI really surprised me and it gave me a really good code example. The first method was using a batch file for Windows or shell script for Linux. I'm not a huge fan of this type of scripting, so I decided to skip this method. Then I checked the second one, which was using different configuration files and running them one after each other. Also something which I didn't like because this is again somehow manual. The third method was to use Node.js script that runs multiple instances of the generator. And the fourth method was also dependent on Node.js. But since Express Generator works very well with Node.js, and I showed that in my last video, I decided that this is the method I will use going forward. So what I did next, I just downloaded the script here, moved it to my Express Generator folder. Then to run the script, I need to run this command. So I copy the command, open the new terminal in Visual Studio Code, right click to paste the command, and I clicked on enter. And here I get some error. So what I did, I directly copied the error, I returned to Claude and I pasted the error. Then I received more instructions from Claude AI to create a file named parallel generator with the content provided earlier. So I copied this name here, I returned here, and I renamed the file. And here I noticed that the AI suggested the correct command, but the file was named wrong. So I renamed the file and run the code again. And you can see that the script immediately started to running and generating strategies. And you can see how fast I was able to create an automation which automatically generates strategies. So my script was running and generating strategies for different symbols, and I thought that I can even upgrade this further. So I returned to Claude AI and started to ask different prompts. I have a lot of chats here because what happened at some moment, I was prompting and receiving responses, I was testing different things, I was providing the bugs here as a response, and then at some point I received a message that my current usage quota for Claude AI was reached, so I need to wait for like 4 or 5 hours for the quota to be reset, and this stopped my process. And at that moment I remember that I have an account with ChatGPT. I copied the code which I had so far, went to ChatGPT and uploaded the files here, explained what I am doing, and started chatting with ChatGPT. I have to say from what I saw from both AI tools that I believe Claude AI is better for this type of task related to coding, but since my credits were exhausted so fast, I had to use ChatGPT. So I was using ChatGPT for several hours while my credits for Claude AI were set, and then I was getting the code from here, putting it back to Claude AI, and then continuing the chat. And you can see I have quite a lot of chats, which I did this way. You can see how small is the scroll here, and also this chat here, and another one, and another one. There are quite a lot of chats. And at that moment, a new AI appeared on the horizon, which was the DeepSeek AI. So I decided to give it a try and uploaded my project files to DeepSeek AI, made a simple prompt to explain what I'm doing, and asked the AI to find some issues in my code. I can say it gave me very good suggestions about fixing my code, but the biggest problem with DeepSeek was that it was so popular at that moment that it was actually not reliable unreliable. The site was experiencing high traffic all the time, so I was not able to do anything, and I stopped using it. So I ended up having this nice automation tool, which, as you can see, runs different combinations of timeframes and symbols. In this current example, I'm generating only strategies for gold, and at the end of the video, I will give you one free strategy from this generation. But this workflow is capable of generating strategies for multiple time frames and assets at the same time. Now, when it comes to generating trading strategies, the choice of broker is super important. That's why I went with Eightcap. They're a well-regulated broker with solid historical data, which is a key for building and backtesting strategies that actually work. Their trading conditions are also really competitive, especially for the commodities like gold, with tight spreads and low fees. So if you're looking for a solid broker for our trading, definitely check them out. I'll drop a link in the description below. Alright, now let's get back to the app and see how we can analyze and pick the best strategies. So the script was running and generating strategies, it was saving the collections, but I thought, okay, I want to be able to see the strategies in real time without downloading the collections and uploading them into EA Studio yet, because I wanted to be able to pick only the strategies which I find good prior to uploading them into EA Studio. And at that moment, again, I thought, why not using AI for this purpose? So I remembered about my good friend Claude AI, and I returned to Claude AI, uploaded the JSON collection, and wrote a simple prompt asking to create a visualization tool for the JSON collection. You can imagine what happened. The process was quite similar to what I showed you earlier. So Claude AI again gave me very good suggestions. First, it started suggesting me to build the whole thing with React. I'm not a programmer, but I'm familiar what is React, and I know this JavaScript library, and I thought, do I need this complexity for this type of project? Can I just use something simple? And this is how I built this beautiful dashboard where I can drag and drop JSON collections. I made it to load the collections for my server by default, and you can see at the moment it shows only the gold symbol and only the M1 time frame. The reason for this is I automated the whole thing, so only the strategies which pass Monte Carlo go into this dashboard, and I can refresh from time to time, and I can load new strategies if there are any which pass the Monte Carlo. Some of the great features of this dashboard, I can filter the strategies by count of entry or exit indicators, or I can filter even strategies which have, for example, moving average as entry indicator, and we see that there is only one strategy. I will clear the dashboard and I will click on the refresh button to fetch again the strategies from the server and again show all indicators. Also, I can sort by profit or by R squared or by count of trades, and you can see that the strategy is reordered. And what else I can do here? I can download each strategy separately as a JSON file if I want to have only this strategy, for example, and not upload the whole collection. And the beauty of this thing is, I will show you right now. I will clear dashboard, I will go to my computer, and I will upload some collections from different symbols. And what you can see here, I can filter, for example, I want to see all the pound Australian dollar collections from the M15 time frame, and I can download this collection only, for example. Or if I have all the collections here, I can sort them by R squared, let's say, and I can scroll down and see, for example, the different symbols and periods for the different collections. Again, I can download each separate strategy as JSON file, which I can import into EA Studio later and download the ready-to-use strategies. So I promised you I will show you how the project looks on the backend. I have the Robogen, which is the folder where my generator is running. You see that it's running here all the time. I have different folders here, the Express generator with the collections which I've generated, those which pass acceptance criteria, and those which pass the Monte Carlo. And here you can see that we have only the gold M1 which passed my Monte Carlo. And if I go to the settings here, you can see this is my acceptance criteria. The script loads the collections which are generated initially and passes them through this acceptance criteria, and only those which pass this filtration go to the acceptance criteria folder, from where I have another script which is called Monte Carlo. Similar to what I showed you in my previous video, we have the Monte Carlo running after the acceptance criteria filtration, and we are looking for 80% success rate, this time with 30 tests, not 20. So we're looking for more robust strategies actually, and we have some Monte Carlo filtrations here. That's why at the end I have strategies only for the M1 time frame frame, but I know that these strategies are good. And inside the dashboard folder, I have the collections dashboard running, and here I have a simple configuration in the config file. At the moment, I have said that I want the collections from the Monte Carlo folder here to be visualized. But for example, if I delete this and say acceptance criteria, and I switch back to the browser and I refresh, you can see that the number of strategies changed. We have 18 strategies which passed acceptance criteria, and we have strategies from different symbols, because in this folder I have strategies which I generated before and collections which I generated before while I was testing. But this is how it looks. You can filter basically everything here. So let's switch back to the Monte Carlo again. I will clear all the settings which I did, and I will fetch the collection from the server again. So I will make the dashboard again to display the strategies which passed Monte Carlo, and I will return to the dashboard and sort the strategies by profit, and I will download the top 3 strategies. I'm downloading them as JSON files, and I will import them one by one into EA Studio, from where I will compile them into working expert advisors. I will test them in MetaTrader, and I will put them in a demo account. And now I will switch to EA Studio. I will go to the validator, and I will upload the strategies which I downloaded as JSON files like this. Because the strategies are for the same symbol and time frame, I can upload them all together, and I can bust them together through the validator. So I click on start, and I can see that all 3 are uploaded here, but I see that there is correlation. So I click on resolve correlations automatically, and one of the strategies dropped. I will sort the strategies by profit, but nothing has changed here, because the more profitable strategy is the one with the highest R squared. I will click on that strategy. Basically, the strategy waits for reversal of the price, so I will not use the strategy actually. I will remove it from the collection, and I will check this strategy. The strategy looks very good. I will just go to the report, to the journal, and here I can see the latest trades. It has quite a lot of trading activity lately, so I think the strategy is good enough. Also, it uses a lot of entry and exit indicators, so this should be a solid trading strategy. And I will download it for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5, and this is the strategy that I will share with you for free. Check out the link below in the description. But before I do this, let me take the strategy and move it to my VPS server, and here I need to click enter, and the meta editor will open. I will just quickly click on compile to compile the strategy. I will close the meta editor, and now in MetaTrader, right click refresh on the experts folder, and here under advisors I can see the strategy. So I right click on the strategy and I click on test. I see the expert is loaded. I see the symbol here, which is the gold. If you don't have it here and you can find it, you need to add the gold from the market watch here, but I already have it added, so I don't need to do it again. Switching to M1 time frame, because the strategy trades on the M1 time frame. For the backtest period, I will pick from the beginning of 2024. The rest of the settings are fine. For the modeling, something important, we need to switch to open prices only, because the robots created with Express Generator and EA Studio place trades at the opening of the bar. This is why we need to use open prices only for the model. This is enough. I'll just click on start. And I can see the graph here, really nice graph. There are some downs in the strategy, but nothing significant. And lately it is in stagnation. But overall, this is a strategy which performs quite well at the moment. If I go to the backtest, I can see that the quality of the backtest is 100%. And we have over 400,000 bars. The profit of this strategy is 2,500. This is quite good. I can see some other stats as well, but that's fine for me. The next thing I will do is I will just close the other charts here. I also close the backtester here, and what I will do, I need to enable all trading here. So I will drag and drop the strategy here, and I will click on OK. And here we have the strategy. It's placed on the chart, and we'll wait for the first trades. So in this video, I showed you how I used AI to build the entire trading app, from backend automation to front-end user interface, without writing code myself. As promised, you can download the EA I showed you in this video for free using the link below. And if you want the full source code of my project, be sure to check out our VIP pool, where as a member, you can get everything and running it yourself. In the next video, I will cross-validate the strategies which are generated using custom historical data from another broker, and even put some EAs on the prop firm challenge to see how they will perform. Make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on so you don't miss that. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.